Bonjour everyone and welcome back to Casser les Lignes. Today we're looking at the forwards, the last episode in the series of our Ligue 1 recap for 21-22 Ligue 1 season. And the forwards, of course, we're going to go to the top 10. You can kind of guess where we're going to go. Most of them, I think, are to be expected to be on that top 10 because there was definitely some strikers and forwards in general that really made the difference this season in Ligue 1. That's the last of the recap position by position, of course, for Casser les Lignes, but also there's going to be more, and the very next podcast will actually be about the coaches. Whilst we had a nice surprise before the weekend with Sampaoli leaving Marseille, so we will do the next episode on all the new coaches coming into Ligue 1. If you're watching this video, you'll see behind me a Marseille flag. It's just, I guess, as a way of support, because there's definitely not going to be a Marseille player in the best forward of the season in Ligue 1. All right, let's go straight away and let's look at our strikers. The first strikers, of course, it's no surprise, Kylian Mbappé. Kylian Mbappé, who has been the best striker in Ligue 1 for quite some time now, a third season in a row, where is the Golden Boot? No, sorry, it wasn't Golden Boot the year before. Third season where he wins Golden Boot, but not in a row. 28 goals, 17 assists, best scorer and best assist for Mbappé, which is to note. It's a good performance. But in those great stats, I think it is important to note that 13 out of the 28 goals, so almost half of them, were scored in the last 9 games, as well as 7 assists. So until then, he was at 15 goals and 10 assists, which is great. But the last 9 games provided him with almost half of the goals, and the last 9 games is, of course, after Paris Saint-Germain is out of the Champions League, eliminated by Real Madrid. So PSG was on holiday mode, and I said so in an episode at that time that's when the stats were going to look good for Mbappé, Neymar, and Messi, and it didn't disappoint, at least for Mbappé. But that doesn't take anything away from the player that he is. I mean, Paris Saint-Germain was only good this season when Mbappé was good. He's obviously an amazing striker. There's definitely reasons why it's such a big news for Paris Saint-Germain that they were able to sign him for an extra 3 years, and that he is now the center of the project at Paris. Hopefully they keep it that way. It'll be interesting to see what he does under Galtier. We're going to keep that for the next podcast. But seeing Christophe Galtier at the head of Paris Saint-Germain is probably not what Mbappé said when he decided to sign the new contract. But yeah, like I said, we'll discuss that in the next pod. Mbappé, I think a lot has been said about this very talented player, this generational talent, to be honest. Is he a main number 9? Is he a guy who comes from the wing and then goes in? He's got all the skills, he's got all the talent, and now he's slowly but surely adding talent off the field as well. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Definitely the best striker of the season, the best player of the season, most likely. The reason why Paris Saint-Germain won Ligue 1 in 21-22, and of course he had to be, for those reasons, the first player in my list. Next one, Wissam Ben Yedder, of course. At the beginning of the season, I didn't know if Wissam Ben Yedder was going to make it. But he finished the season with 10 goals in 10 games. He had I think 6 games without scoring to start the season. Then he scores in 4 consecutive games. Then it's another sort of inconsistency. Thing didn't work out perfectly at first with Kovac in Kovac's second season. But then, he's 31 years old now. He brought his experience. He brought his sense of goal. There's 8 penalties in those 25 goals, but there's still 17 goals in the play, and he's technically gifted. He's got a very acute sense of positioning in the box. He's a true poacher, but also a great finisher. So much calm, such a cold-blooded killer. And there was no way he was not going to be in there. 25 goals, 5 assists. And like I said, definitely part of that crazy last 10 game for Monaco when they win 9 and draw the last one, which they missed the straight Champions League for just a little bit, but they're still going to play the playoff just like last year. And that's also one of the reasons why Wissam Ben Yedder made it, change coach, but they don't change the captain and the main striker for Monaco. And then we go to Lyon, and we'll talk about Moussa Dembélé, of course. I think Moussa Dembélé deserved the nod. 21 goals, 5 from the spot kick, and 3 assists. I think he's third or fourth on the goal scoring ladder. And yeah, obviously that's why he is where he is. Inconsistent maybe for Lyon. When he was good, he was amazing. I think about this game against Marseille or even against Paris Saint-Germain. And then sometimes he was just it was just a ghost. But a lot of the time he was the one at the end to finish, and he's been crucial for Lyon. Although Lyon finished like 8th or 9th on the table, I can't remember now. But yeah, for a season where they struggled, Moussa Dembélé really did well. Interestingly enough, his future is in question. Supposedly, before the season ended, Peter Bosz said that he was one of the 4 players that he wouldn't see in a starting spot the following season, along with I think Boateng, Aouar, and Leo Dubois. So the 4 starters that he had in 2020, in 21-22 that he didn't want in 22-23, and cause to effect, they recruited Alexandre Lacazette. So I'm sure Bosz is going to try to play Lacazette and Dembélé together for a bit. But I think Dembélé's path to become the main striker of Lyon is probably a little bit harder right now. And I'm sure there'll be rumors about him potentially seeing somewhere else during the summer window. We're going west, and we're going to Nantes and to talk about Randal Kolo Muani, of course, 23 years old. And maybe not the breakout season, 12 goals, 4 assists, but a very important season for Nantes, regardless, who earned him a move to Eintracht Frankfurt, where he joined them. Or Frankfurt or Stuttgart? I can't remember. I'm going to have to back myself there. Anyway, he's going to Bundesliga. He's joining a club from Bundesliga on the free, because that was the end of his contract. And good for him. Yeah, I don't know why some places is June 30th, 2027. Definitely not. He's moved on from Nantes. He's talented. He's fast. He's a good finisher. There's still here and there some things to improve, but he's one of those young talents that we're so glad illuminates Ligue 1 weekend after weekend. It's going to be a loss for Nantes, not having Kolo Muani, potentially not having Blas. There's going to be a bit of work to do for Nantes to try and revitalize that attack. But Comboiré, the coach on the first training, was asked about what he was going to do without Kolo Muani, without potentially Blas, although Blas was there at the first training. And Comboiré's answer was very very pragmatic. He said, if I'm going to worry on day one, then I'm not going to finish the season. So right now we don't worry. We work. We trust the president and the sporting director to recruit the right people. Little side tackle to his president right there. We trust that they're going to do what it takes for us to be competitive. But Kolo Muani had a great season, instrumental in that French Cup win, of course, for Nantes. Next up, we go back east, and Ludovic Ajorque. I mean, we mentioned it a few times in the podcast this season. He's an underrated striker. He's 2 meter 198, I think, but very solid ball to feet. 12 goals, 3 from the spot kick, and 5 assists this season. And really, again, his potential, his leadership. He's an anchor man. He's a finisher. He can take the run. He's a passer. He's probably one of the best header in the game in Ligue 1. And he really showed all his talent this season. It's not for nothing that he's been, sort of linked with some move. So at first there was a lot of noise with him going to Lille. Apparently it's not going to happen. He's not going to Lille, but there's definitely suggestion that he'll go to Bundesliga, whether it's Frankfurt or Wolfsburg. Apparently he's not staying in Strasbourg, and a Strasbourg fan, although they're sad about it, are hoping that the solution is found quickly, so then they can move on and find somebody else, because Strasbourg has been awesome at discovering talents year in, year out. Next up, Andy Delort. And Andy Delort, same thing, didn't start the best way. Of course, a few games at Montpellier to start, and then he joined Nice, where he joined his good friend Christophe Galtier, and then didn't have the impact that you expected him to be. A bit complicated, and he finished so well, scoring goals after goals, important goal, crucial goals in a team that didn't play the best football at some point and defended more than they were attacking. He was probably the one striker that was, still a shining light all the way to the end. Guiri wasn't playing great. Dolberg wasn't playing great. Kluivert was very inconsistent. But Delort was consistent. 18 goals, 3 were penalties, and 3 assists, and really the weapon for Nice in the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see what happens now under Lucien Favre. How is Ange Delort going to be used? He's obviously an Algerian international. He's probably not going to play for Algeria anymore after what happened last year. So he's going to be dedicated to Nice for another season. Hopefully he's scoring some more goals. But yeah, interesting to see what he's going to do under Lucien Favre. Actually, I didn't check if there was any transfer rumor for him, but I doubt there is any. He just arrived, scored 18 goals. I'm sure they want to keep him with him. And we go to Lille now. We go to the north of France. Of course, Jonathan David was probably one of the rare satisfaction of Lille this season. 15 goals, 2 from the penalty kick, not 1 assist. Last year he had a few assists, and definitely, seeing Burak Yilmaz struggling to score goals has impacted Jonathan David's influence on the game. Still find a way to score 15 goals, but just not as good as he's been the season before, just like everybody in his team, right? He's only 22 years old, the Canadian international, gearing up for the World Cup. A new coach at Lille as well, Paulo Fonseca, is going to be the coach at Lille now that Gourvenec has been fired, basically. And Jonathan David is staying in Lille. I think at one point there was stories that he would go somewhere else, but because his season wasn't as good as last year, Lille bought him 25 million or 28 million, even if I'm not mistaken. They're not going to sell him as much right now because he hasn't been that good this year. So I think him having a good season, potentially a good World Cup. Canada is going to be a good team, I think, at the World Cup. Might grant him a move, whether it's at the winter transfer window and at the end of the year. But right now, Fonseca has a very talented striker in his team to start his story with Lille. All right, the last 3, we're going to start with Mohamed Bayo, the striker from Clermont. We mentioned him in the pod several times before. 14 goals, 2 were from the spot kick, and 5 assists, and really an impact striker. I've compared him to Drogba because of the way he plays football, but he's just a strong all-around forward who can play as a striker and an anchor man, can come back a bit lower and grab the ball. He's technically gifted. Really is a strong finisher, left foot, right foot header. And he's, for all those reasons, also linked with several clubs. Apparently, Lille would get him. That's the last that we heard. So maybe Jonathan David, Mohamed Bayo will be the new Jonathan David, Burak Yilmaz. And that'll be a great coup for Lille if they get Mohamed Bayo. Some clubs in Premier League, I hear West Ham, and some clubs in Bundesliga, potentially Stuttgart, Frankfurt, are also looking at Mohamed Bayo. But what a season he had, really helped Clermont staying in Ligue 1, really strong against every player, every team. And Clermont was playing that brand of possessive football. Having a guy like Mohamed Bayo up front really helped with this, because they had somebody that could hold the ball for them and who was technically good enough to really prevent the defender from stealing the ball from him. So an anchorman and very crucial player of Gastien in Clermont, who unfortunately for Clermont Foot is probably not going to play there next season. The last 2 strikers that we're going to talk about, they're in the same team, and I think they're definitely more forward than they are strikers. The first one, Martin Terrier, of course, 21 goals, 2 were scored from the penalty kick, 4 assists, a breakthrough season at 25 years old. The former Lyon player really found his groove, really worked well within the collective with Bourigeaud, with Té, with Laborde, with Maïger. Just Rennes was so great to watch this season. And apparently Martin Terrier will not stay at Rennes. I heard some conflicted rumors. At first it was, he's definitely staying. And then now I hear that Leicester is knocking at the door and is offering quite a bit of money to try and get Martin Terrier to cross the channel. So we'll see. He was at training for the first few for the first few training. I think Rennes went back to training on June 29th, if I'm not mistaken, and he was there. So he might be staying, but definitely a lot of teams in Europe, when they look at the left winger right now, they're looking at Martin Terrier because he can score, he can cross, he's fast, he works hard, and they've seen how well he played in a very well collective, and so I'm sure they'll be happy to. Any team will be happy to get him back in their squad. And the last one of our top 10 is Martin Terrier's teammate, Gaëtan Laborde. I mean, maybe not a striker, maybe more a forward, but 15 goals, still 8 assists. 2 of those goals were penalty kick. Gaëtan Laborde, to me, is probably the best all-around forward that we have in Ligue. He does it all. He runs fast. He runs fast. I mean, he runs a lot. He fights hard. He defends well. He's here to help the team. He doesn't mind where he is at the top of the attack, whether it's in the front, whether it's on the left, whether it's on the right. He moves a lot. He's available. He's great ball to feet. I mean, left foot, right foot. He can cross. He can pass. He can shoot. He can score. He's got a great header on him. He's one of those unsung heroes of Ligue 1 that allowed Terrier to be so good, allowed Bourigeaud to be so good, was really one of the key players for Rennes this season. And he's staying in Rennes. There's no rumor that he's going anywhere. He was in Bordeaux for a while. He was in Montpellier for a while. And now he's probably going to stay at Rennes for a bit of time as well. Only 28 years old, and he's staying with Les Rouges et Noirs, which is a great get for Genesio, of course, to be able to count on this really hard working forward. Every time I see him, I'm just happy that he's playing in France, because he's one of those strikers that I think you can put him in any team, and his work rate will give him a starting lineup position. So that's my top 10, a bit shorter than the other poll as far as positioning, but I think there was less surprise in the strikers. Mbappé, Ben Yedder, Dembélé, Kolo, Muani, Ajorque, Delort, Jonathan David, Mohamed Bayo, and Martin Terrier, Gaëtan Laborde to finish. Those are, as far as I'm concerned, the 10 best strikers in Ligue 1. By all means, if you disagree, please come and tell me, and let's discuss it. There was a few people saying that I was wrong on the defenders and the midfielders, and I would love having a conversation about it. So don't hesitate to come again and discuss it. In the meantime, stay tuned. More to come on Casser les Lignes, Breaking the Lines, and the next podcast about French football will be about the coaches. How many there is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's almost 10 new coaches already when we thought we had a great season in Ligue 1. Anyway, stay tuned. Thank you very much for listening to the French Football Podcast. Casser les Lignes. The host, Jeremy Magan, says goodbye.